everybody and welcome back. So for today's video I thought I would take you on a tour of my CANSON MONTVAL watercolor sketchbook. Ooh. So for those of you who haven't seen my last sketchbook tour, I will have it up in the cards, and then I also have a sketchbook tour of this exact same sketchbook but from like a year ago. So maybe watch that one first, see me improve. A lot of this stuff is Inktober, fair warning. But for those of you who don't know or haven't seen, I did Inktober this year. It was great, it was fun. I didn't end up finishing, I got to day 26, but let's get into it. So this is the CANSON MONTVAL watercolor sketchbook. It's 9 by 12, there are 20 pages, and it's 140 pounds and 300 grams. This is cold press, and apparently it performs beautifully with all wet media. Isn't that fun? So getting right into it. You may have seen this piece on my Instagram. This was an ink value study for my illustration class that I'm currently in. So as an illustration major, we're all taking like the intro course for our major. So this is for that. This was for our first assignment, and it was a black and white assignment to be completed in ink. And this was one of the thumbnails that my teacher liked and I had to do as a bigger sketch. We had to do 100 thumbnails. I can talk more about that if you're interested in that whole process, but yep, this was one of the ones that I actually did in ink. And then this was both my rough sketch and value study for the idea that I ended up going with, which this piece is how it turned out. It's Alaric, who you've seen here a couple times before on some of my older videos, but in the final piece, I ended up actually using watercolor, black watercolor, instead of ink, because ink makes me sad and doesn't like to work with me at all. Make your supplies work for you, kids. Fit the requirements however you need to. Alright, so on this page we have a lovely ink splotch by my teacher, who was trying to show me something and drew me a little thing and showed me a watercolor technique. It was great. Anyway, I wasted this page testing ink nibs when I tried out my new nib set that I bought for Inktober. Used like twice in Inktober, but I'm happy I have now. I inked this piece with it, and it's really cool. If you haven't seen the video for that, it's in the cards and description, you know what to do. But please excuse this real creepy child. It was done with no sketch and a nib pen, so you know. So this was for day 1 of Inktober. This was for the prompt Poisonous. This was the first drawing I did with my nib pen, so for not practicing at all and never having used a nib pen before in my life, I feel like I did pretty good on this one. I like it a lot. In my head, the concept was different. Like, I don't think I have a picture of the sketch, but the sketch looked very cool and like, ooh, kind of spooky, and she's definitely looking like Rainbow Bright out here. So I'd love to revisit this concept. I feel like I drew a good snake though. He looks like a real good noodle. Yay! It's Nerrels' piece. You just saw it a couple seconds ago because I showed you a picture of it, but this was the piece I did as the prize for my 100 subscriber art giveaway. So yeah, it was really fun. She was really fun to draw, but you already saw that video, so not a whole lot to say. Oh yeah, I forgot to spine tech on this. Look at that. Isn't that fun? We love that. Also, if you have any questions about like my process or materials or anything for any of these that I'm not going into, let me know in the comments down below. I'm down to answer some questions. Okay. So this page, this was a sketch for, what was it, like 5? Was spell, I think? Something like that. One of the prompts for Inktober was the word spell. And I was going to draw like a witchy kind of character with like a Art Nouveau ring with like witchy symbols behind him. I don't know, but I didn't like it, so I didn't finish it. And then this was a start on the inking of the Lucy Westenra piece I also did for illustration. This one, it was a Dracula book cover, and I messed up, so I decided to do something small, and then I didn't like it, so I didn't finish it. But look at that! So here's the piece. This was what I scanned in to finish that piece, like you saw before. Yeah, it was finished digitally, but this was the watercolor, and I felt very proud of it because my teacher said that it had to be black and white. Black and white and one color, and I decided I was going to make her eyes purple, and that was going to be my one color. And being the nerd that I am, I was like, let's see how many colors I can sneak in here without him noticing. So there's like yellow ochre, burnt sienna, there's 2 purples in here, a blue, an orange, but it's all like just diluted a whole bunch, so it looks subtle. I don't know. It's probably just like the difference between like a warm gray and a cool gray Copic, but I felt very cool. So this one was a different try for that day of Inktober that was Spell. And this is Oriole. I don't know if I've done a video about her yet, but she's one of my characters. She's really cool. She's like a witch. And I like looked up a reference on the internet of her, and I, you know, figured out her dress and everything because I think she was set in Victorian times. So I looked up like a coat and a dress, and I drew really good legs, and I didn't want to cover them with like a big dress, so then the outfit wasn't period appropriate, and I just decided to not. I don't know, I still kind of like it. I just stopped because I was tired and it was late, and you get the vibe. So this was my catch-up day, and my friend Yvonne and I went to this assembly for school, and there was pizza, and so we ate lunch, and then listened to this man from our college talk about stuff, and then we drew a bunch. She did some digital stuff, and I caught up on 2 days of Inktober. This took forever because I didn't know what I wanted to do about chicken, but you know. This was a wasted page. It wasn't a waste, but I used this page for a perspective class because I didn't have my sketchbook with me. Yeah. Another day of Inktober, I found this really pretty dress on Pinterest, which I show on Instagram, but here's the dress if you're not on Instagram. I thought it was really pretty and I wanted to try and draw it. I didn't spend as much time on this one as I would have liked to, but I didn't have a ton of time and I needed to go to bed, so I did it. I like her though. I want to redraw that dress because it's so pretty. Another Inktober drawing. I forget what this one was, but I remember being kind of proud of the watercolory effect I got because Prismacolor Quali Erases are not watercolor pencils, but if you add water to them, sometimes you can get them to do a little blendy blend. I liked the concept of like this queen with like inky hair and cool birthmarks and a stabby crown. And now I've explained the whole drawing, but you get it. Okay, so this one, I went to scrapbooking weekend with my mom and her friends, which I was gonna say for those of you who don't know, but literally none of you probably scrapbook. So basically my mom and her friends spend a weekend at one of their houses and scrapbook all weekend, and it's great. It's great. And I got invited, so I got to go and make a ton of art, so I did a really extra Inktober. What else are you gonna do except spend an incredibly long amount of time sketching and inking and watercolor painting in Inktober? If I remember correctly, does this have Daniel Smith on it? Yeah, it does. Her lips and I think the bottom of this and like all the little teardrops have Daniel Smith on them, but I can't get the light to shine because it's nighttime and I'm using like 8 lights. So, you'll imagine it, right? You'll imagine it. This was the prompt clock, and as you can see, my boy Clock Eyes here has clock eyes. I like him. I think he's cool. This one is ink. This is Pentel Pocket Brush Pen, Pentel Brush Pen, Pentel Aquash Pen, and pencil. Yeah. Another Inktober. So for this one, actually, I was sitting and I was watercoloring in my dorm room, and I was using my little water brush, and I had my like opaque watercolors, and I was watching Monsters vs. Aliens on Netflix. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm like done working for the day on like important stressful things, I like to watch children's movies. If I'm in my dorm room, at least. At home, I like to watch art videos, but like in the dorm room, we watch stress-free movies. So I was watching Monsters vs. Aliens on Netflix. 10 out of 10 recommend. It's a great family film. But I hear a knock at my door, and it's the RA's health and safety check, and it's kind of late. It's probably like 9 o'clock, 9:30, and I'm not wearing a bra or anything, so I'm like, in just a minute. So I kind of stand up. I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do for an RA health and safety check, so I open the door, and my hair was in a ponytail, and it was so awkward because I'm like, hey there, just chilling. Like, I know they don't care, but I knew, so then I was awkward. Anyway, the first thing she says to me, "Oh, you're using watercolor in your room?" And I'm like, were we not allowed to do that? Funny story, I missed the RA meeting at the beginning of the year, so I never heard any of the rules or anything. So I just figured it was fine. Like, that's not more than I would use in my own room. If like I was laying on my bed, I'd watercolor. And she was like, we're gonna have to talk to your area coordinator about that. And y'all know me, I don't like to break the rules, so I felt so guilty about it. But I already had all my stuff out and I was almost done, so after they left, I just kind of finished it. And then a couple weeks later, I got an email saying I passed and that you are allowed to use wet media in your dorms, because we do have a studio in the dorm building, but it's in the basement and it's real spooky, so I don't like going there. But you know how it is. So I wasn't doing anything wrong. I'm allowed to use that in the dorms. The only things you can't use in the dorms are charcoal and acrylic. Or no, charcoal and oils, that's what it was. But I felt guilty for nothing. Great. So yes, this was also in October. Hi, it's Alex from the future here. I wanted to cut back in and I realized that I told you that funny anecdote and never talked about the piece. So this was also for October, and I was experimenting with, I think the prompt was maybe shape or something like that, or color something. I wanted to experiment with using transparent watercolor for the skin and the visor, and then opaque watercolor for the helmet, and kind of have that contrast. And then this is ink, this is like shiny gold, and that's watercolor, as previously stated. But there you go. Okay, so this one I spent a lot of time on, and I clearly was home at that point because it's got Copic on it and my Copics are not at school. So, this is Corvus, who is another one of my characters. He's pretty old, actually. Let me see, I have his first reference right here. Let me see how old he is. Oh, February of last year, so. We got a glow up on our hands, kids. But yeah, that was for Cursed, I believe, or Burned, something like that. His story is that he's like cursed or something. I can't remember what the prompt is, but he's cursed, and like eventually he gets like a magical looking scar face thing going on there, and I thought that would fit the prompt. Also, I just wanted to draw my original characters because you know how it is. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I like it a lot. I feel like the fact that this is an earring got lost and it just looks like a weird applique on his turtleneck. Also, that was a phase, like all of my characters had black turtlenecks or t-shirts. I tried to find evidence of this on the internet, but I couldn't find any. I just feel like within my heart it was a phase. You get it? Anyway, on to the next one. Oh, so this was for day whatever, but the prompt was expensive. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. And the idea behind it was that it's Cleopatra at the banquet there. I forget if it was Mark Antony or the other guy there that she liked. Your girl's not exactly a history buff, but Mark Antony or Caesar. That was his name. His name was Caesar. But I don't remember who it was, but there was like a competition between them, her and the man whose name escapes me, to see who could have the most expensive banquet. And they both, did crazy amazing things like a whole pig and fancy herbs and spices, and I think the guy was going to win, and she was like, I bet I can be more expensive, and she subtly kind of pulls off her earring, dissolves it in vinegar, and downs it in one gulp, and is like, my banquet was more expensive. I'm obviously great. So, yeah, her skin tone turned out really red, but, I was using my Pureless watercolors for this, and I didn't check the back of the strip every time I used it, because when it's on the strip, you can't really tell what color it is, and when it's in the pan and dry, it does not look like the color it is on paper. So I think I used red a few times when I was supposed to be getting brown, because it's like a red brown, so in the pan you can't really tell the difference. But anyway, we love a sunburned Cleopatra. Oh, and then like the gold parts are shiny. It's bronze acrylic. Zoom you back out a little bit there. So this one was in October that I never finished. I still counted it though. I posted a line out on Instagram. And this is Candy. She is one of my characters that I had since, I want to say 5th grade. She was obviously not this cute back when I first drew her, but same kind of idea. She's a porcupine, back when I used to draw animal characters all the time. That was a fun phase. But I started to watercolor it, and I didn't like it. I didn't really like the face. I just kind of inked it because I needed to for Inktober, and I decided that if I didn't like it, why was I finishing it when I could work on something else? And that's pretty much what ended my Inktober journey, is that I realized I needed to work on other stuff, and no one was making me do the prompts, so I wanted to devote myself to other things. So this was the last thing I did in the sketchbook. This was day 26 of Inktober. The prompt was stretch, and I had a person stretching, and I realized I didn't like it. It was too high up on the page, and why was I suffering? I want to draw stuff I want to draw. So that's the message for today's video. For our closing remarks, draw what you want to draw, get better, improve, and always do your best. Have a great night. Bye! You still there? Well, as long as you're here, you can choose to click one of the videos on screen or click my face to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, alright?